There is a story that says when Galileo was persecuted for heresy by the Catholic Church, when he announced his belief that the earth is not stationary but revolves around the sun, at the end of it he said, "And yet it moves." And this becomes very important toward the end of my own story today about my 11th Spravato treatment yesterday afternoon. So stick around if you're curious, and thank you for being here to listen. I had two really terrible nights in a row prior to treatment. The days and nights before that had been okay, but still a consistent increase in my ability to be social, and my ability to be productive, and my resilience in handling hard things. But Tuesday night I saw something on Discord that triggered me to break down with the purest anger and despair that poisoned me. The following day I was a little calmer, but there has still been an aftertaste that, though rebounding from, I have not yet healed from. Then Wednesday night I was very emotional with my family, and I ended up spiraling down a 2 hour sobbing episode where I felt worse and more hopeless than I had in months. And on Thursday morning, up until treatment, I was emotionally hungover, so to speak, and I still had puffy eyes and was really sensitive. And it wasn't until I physically got into the hospital, going back into the room, that I started to incline in hope again. And to start, Dan, who was in charge of my treatments, was back. He had been gone for 2 weeks. It was a bummer that I hadn't seen him. But I asked him yesterday why insurance only allowed me 3 months of Spravato when other people kept going past that. And he told me he thought that I knew that there would be more, because as long as there is a clinical medical need and my insurance stays the same, I can keep getting them. And my heart felt a little lighter knowing that even when I transition back to work, I'll be able to keep getting treatments and getting better. And there isn't a definitive time constraint on how well I can get in 3 months, and then have to carry on with what it is, how it is, what it is. So that's an update for you. And I'm still very nervous about going back to work, but Dan said it will keep working and getting better, and I have faith in that. So after my third dose and the lights were off, the lamp was on, and Dan left the room, I felt the esketamine dissociation kick in, and I thought to myself, this is my sword and my shield. For my anxiety showed up as always in my worrisome thoughts, and yet it was like this blanket relief, at least for the first 40 minutes until after the peak, where all of these things bang on the windows and stare me down, and yet I am shielded from the full force of these things. There is a calm in me. I feel the pressure, but not all of the pain, and I am so grateful for when I am able to experience that. So I spent chunks of time laying back much easier than I was able to the first month, just looking at the lights on the ceiling, which are fluid but so grounding for me because I've trained my mind to visualize my thoughts, floating away with them as they change and move. And I listened to music I enjoyed, and I just existed during this time, the dissociation. In particular, it's so nice to be able to detach my thoughts from the tight cord that ties them directly to how severely I feel my emotions for a little bit, and it makes it easier to process things. And process things I did. I thought to myself at one point, I feel like a computer. All of these miscellaneous files coming into my head, and I'm able to process them one at a time and file them. A lot of things I wanted to remember to talk about, and yet I just let them go and decided if I remembered, I remembered, but it would not be the end of the world if I didn't. And that is a big thing for me because I have a fear of forgetting. And fear was something I faced too earlier this week, talking to a friend who asked me how I was doing and said it seemed like a lot of people feel hopeless right now. And I thought about how much hope I have for all the things in my life. And then I had to run to do OTPT with mom. And I thought more about what I would say when I got back to the conversation, and my stomach dropped. My heart dropped. And I thought to myself that I am afraid of so many big things. And my fears about a handful of these things in particular are so strong that when and if they come to pass, my parents dying are two of those things, and that can't be helped. The idea of fighting by having hope in response to those things would be for naught, and moving forward would happen, but my quality of life would suffer, and who knows for how long. But I have hope that a lot of those things won't come to pass, that they are just severe anxious thoughts, and even that my family will live for many more years, and I will be grateful for every moment, good or bad, with them. I want to hold true to that hope despite the fear, which is very hard to cut through when you're paralyzed by it. And unless something terrible happens, God forbid, I know that regardless how sad I get or how much emotional pain that I am in or how long it lasts, that sadness and despair will not physically kill me. and yet it will move. But that regardless does not discount the pains of today or tomorrow or 10 years from now. So during treatment, I thought about those things and about all of the pain and hopelessness that some of my friends are feeling right now, and how a few of them don't believe things will ever get better. And that is so sad to me. I've spent my whole life both armed and unarmed, fist fighting and blasting away through depression to increase and recover my quality of life. And suffering is inevitable, and yet it moves. And to everyone who is in pain, if you are watching this video hoping you'll hear about Spravato work for me because you want it to work for you and you have hope, hold on to that hope. At the end of every day, you will have survived 100% of your toughest days, and yet it moves. So for myself, I will cling to hope about feeling better, about things in my life improving that are out of my control, that my relationships will maintain and improve, and I can still have a good life, even if it's just a moment in time here and there. A little rest period, a little calm, a little joy. And I am grateful I am alive. And for all of the things, no matter how big or small they seem, that are positive and good, even if they are not what I want them to be, they're not ideal, they could have room for improvement. I thank God that I have them, even for moments at a time. And I have to make a note to myself to return to this video and this message to myself for days darker than this, to remind myself and to everyone else grasping for hope, and yet it moves. Next treatment is Thursday, so I'll talk to you then. This is Sim, signing off.